Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Dungeons of Doria. This is going to be probably a two-part video series. In this first episode, we're just going to kind of do an unboxing. We're going to kind of go through all the components and all the stuff, talk briefly or talk in general about the game. Then I'm going to set up and play a game off camera. And then in the second part, I will come back and kind of do a battle report and kind of tell you a little bit about how I feel about this game. I should say right off the bat that this game is a prototype. This is a prototype version created by a member of the Dungeon Dive Facebook group, Victor. And this game is going to be crowdfunded, and he wanted to make these really nice prototypes to send out to a couple of reviewers. This prototype was created with the Game Crafter, and I know that because of all of the stuff crammed in this box, it would be a very expensive game to purchase on Game Crafter. But with my limited time with this game already, just my limited time with this game, I already know that I want to add it to my collection, and I'm going to be very sad to be sending this prototype off once I am done taking a look at it. I wish I could just buy it off of Victor, because this game is pretty cool. It's doing some neat things. It is kind of just a standard dungeon crawl, and you're going to see that as we take a look at the game. But it does have a very, I think, unique and interesting initiative and action point system for determining player actions and the order of play. It does remind me a little bit of like a JRPG like Grandia, which had the initiative line, and as you did actions, you would move down the initiative line, and then whoever's at the top of the line would take their turn, and so on. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I like initiative tracks in games. But this says Dungeons of Doria, a cooperative roguelike dungeon crawler for 1 to 6 players. You are heroes, mercenaries, and vagabonds drawn from the far-flung corners of the continent Doria, seeking adventure, glory, and gold. The vastness of Doria teems with dungeons, towers, and cellars, crammed with monsters, treasures, and ancient artifacts. Work together to survive terrible perils and escape the dungeons of Doria. Dungeons of Doria is played without a game master. Select a quest and start exploring a dungeon. Either choose from standalone adventures you complete in one session, or pick from one of 4 included campaigns continuing over multiple sessions. The Dungeons of Doria initiative system allows each player to spend their initiative points on multiple actions, such as moving, attacking, looting, or repairing damaged equipment. The character or monster with the highest initiative value defines the next action. Each player must decide on what to do. Use several quick actions, one slower action, or a combination. Depending on the items equipped, plan tactical fights, disarm traps, and manage your inventory of loot. With over 400 unique loot cards, 19 opponents, each with their own abilities, plus monster modifiers, and 8 initial characters that can be completely customized as you wish. So again, this is a prototype. This was created by Game Crafter. This is not going to be, Victor is not going to be using Game Crafter to produce the final versions of the game. It will be a Kickstarter or some kind of crowdfunding campaign. But I think you guys are going to like what you see, because this is one of the nicer prototypes I have seen. Really well put together. I can already tell that Victor has done a lot of the work, and I think that's good. I think that's a good sign for the crowdfunding campaign, because I don't think it's going to take multiple years to get everything together. Everything is in a really good place right now. So let's start by taking a look at everything you're going to get. Just keep in mind that, yes, this is a prototype, and so things are going to probably end up looking a little different. But the first one we have here is the Book of Rules. I've read through the Book of Rules twice. It is a somewhat complex game. You're going to be doing typical things like exploring, fighting, getting loot, but it does kind of feel like an old school style game, almost like Treasures and Trolls, in that there is a lot of math. Everything, all of your actions take action points. You have a certain number of action points. You maybe have like 30 action points on a turn, and maybe an attack costs 15. You're going to keep track on a track of how many action points you have left, and then attacking, dodging, all that kind of stuff. You're going to roll dice. You're going to be adding lots of numbers together and comparing to target numbers or comparing to contested rolls. So there is a lot of little math, a lot of little formulas you have to keep in mind, like 2 times the monster level and so on. But so in that sense, it does feel like a little kind of an older, a little crunchier game. I would say that this is not a modern streamlined game. But really, I mean, I'm just super impressed by the way this prototype looks. It looks absolutely professional here. You have a list of all of your components. I mean, this is really this rule book is kind of like better than a lot of the rule books I see from, professionally published and developed games. So Victor's done a really great job. But you have your component overview, you have various room tiles, monster cards, loot cards, monster level cards, standard item cards, campaign item cards. You have all of your character cards and rules references, large character mats, different tokens. The game uses all D10 for all of its dice. You have initiative board, doom counters. Yeah, it just goes a really nice detail about all the things you're going to get. It has your simple game information here, general setup. You can choose between a single scenario mode or you can do a campaign mode. You can also do kind of a free-form mode where you just kind of like make up a certain in-game condition, like finding 4 relic items or something like that, and then play until you do that. If you don't want to play one of the scenarios, a sample of how the table is set up, and then a little bit it goes over some of your roles, your different kind of roles, how you will have comparative roles and target numbers, and then critical roles and fumble. So it sets up your basic dice rules in this page. I like it when games do this. Then you have all of your different characters here. You have a warrior, a shield maiden, a ranger, a huntress, an adventurer, a scoundrel, a mage, and a priestess. The art is really is pretty nice. It's kind of your typical old school kind of fantasy art. I think it looks really good. Everything's really clean. Even though there are a lot of numbers, you're going to see on the card. So here we kind of have an overview of a card, and there is a lot of information. So yeah, this is kind of a crunchy game. Even on just a basic equipment card, you have the title, if it is it an enchanted or magical item. You have your range, your psi point cost, that's kind of like a magic point system. Your set name or weapon category, description text, a zone for equipping the card because you have these large character mats where you're going to be equipping your card. You can play your paper dolls slash fashion souls there. You have your action point cost for how many action points it costs to use that item. Attribute requirements. So for instance, this sun shield here, your character would have to have a strength of 10 and a constitution of 10 in order to equip and use that item. Value of the card for when you want to sell it, or a gold value when you want to sell it, and the values of the card, such as your attack, defense, damage, bonuses, all those kinds of different ratings there. And then after you get through that, you do get to all of your different icons that are going to be used on the different kinds of cards and what those mean. So you have a nice reference here to look up at all the different icons on the cards. And then you have your game phases here. Your phase overview, there are from A to I. So you move your round markers. You can shop for new items. You can roll for initiative. Your action phase, this is where all the actions take place. And then you have a poison check. You have special actions that might trigger from different monsters, or maybe different scenarios have special actions that trigger in that step. You have your doom counter. There's a counter on the initiative track that gets moved down that causes enemies to do certain things. Then you can level up, and then you can buy or remove shop items. What's really cool is in that shop item phase, you can always buy items, like up to 3 items that are available on each turn. And I like that it's very gamey because it keeps items coming in and out of the game. But he explained the reason why with a nice just little text of lore where all of the characters are equipped with a magical bag that acts as a portal between them and a shop. And so that shop is kind of always available. It's kind of like they always have their mobile phone on them, and they can dial up Amazon at any time to have something delivered to them through this magical portal. Portal. I really like that. I like, even though it is kind of a gamey thing, just explaining that through a little piece of lore is really cool. But yeah, overall, I think the rulebook is pretty nice. There are just a few little places where I think some editing and maybe another pass of, some clarification could take place. But after reading the book, I'm pretty confident in my ability to play the game. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be multiple instances where I'm going to have to look something up because, again, there is a lot going on in this game. It's not a simple game. It's a pretty crunchy game. So I think for the first 2 or 3 games, you're probably going to be referring to the rulebook quite often. And in that instance, I wish there was more of an index. There is a table of contents, but an index would be nice. But the table of contents is well laid out. So overall, I mean, just one of the better rule books I've seen in a upcoming crowd-funded game. Very, very nicely done. The game also comes with a quick start guide that will get you up and running with your first game pretty quickly, and just kind of goes over very generally how the game is played, how the game is set up, and how the different decks of cards and everything are set up. So really nice there. Okay, so let's start looking at some of the cards. There are a ton of cards in this game, as you can see. And as you know, producing cards on demand is quite expensive, so that's why this game is not being sold via the game crafter, because it would be quite expensive. So these cards here, these are all item cards. There are a ton of loot cards in this game, and that has me very, very excited to see all of the different kinds of loot. So just this game has more loot than a lot of games. It's probably up there with Quest for the Lost Pixel, and maybe like Dungeon Universalis, and the sheer number of items that you can find and buy. So I'm just going to kind of like organize these right now. I was so impressed when this game came. Okay, so I have gone ahead and organized all of the cards into their different decks. So now we can take a look at them. Guys, if you like loot, I think you're going to like this game. All of these cards from here over, those are all loot decks. Absolutely incredible. I cannot wait to get through all of these cards, looking at them and reading about the different kinds of loot. So there are 2 smaller decks, and these are kind of like special loot cards that you will use, I think, mainly just during campaigns for the most part. These kind of have special items here, and you have different kinds of items. You have spells, you have armor there, and weapons. So like you have this tomahawk here. It's a standard weapon. An axe, both usable for melee and ranged attacks, can also be used against skeletons. And this tells you how many hands it takes. This tells you how many action points it costs to use that weapon. The attributes that you need to equip it, you need a strength of 9 and a perception of 9. And then the icons down here, they tell you if you were going to be using it as what kind of weapon, ranged, melee, if it has any defense, if it adds or subtracts any initiative points, any action points on your action track, and how much damage it does. And then armor here will have an armor value. And so when you use that armor, you can negate that many points of damage. And then this armor is weak against, I think that's probably water, some kind of elemental damage. And so if you are attacked with that elemental type of an attack, then you cannot use this armor to negate that damage. And then this armor here does subtract a point from your action point total, your initiative track there. So yeah, pretty cool. Lots of neat stuff. And these are just small little decks of unique items that you will get while you are playing one of the campaigns. And then all of these cards are all available during all of the games. And you're going to take all of these, which is just an absurd amount of loot. You're going to take all of these and you're going to shuffle them all together and then divide those into 3 different stacks, because you're always going to have access to like 3 different choices of what you want to pick when you want to buy something. And like those other cards, we have different kinds of armor, we have different kinds of weapons, a horseback bow, a wizard robe, a black mask. I really like that each of the items does have a little piece of lore written about it, like the woolen jacket. Extra warm padded jacket made of wool, protects against light damage, and is wonderfully soft. But it is weak against fire because, yes, it is wool. A fire crossbow. That is pretty cool. So it does 2 points of damage, plus it does fire damage. We have a bandana, a sling, a light headband, wool gloves. So there is sets. There are sets that you can combine. There's another, the padded hood for the padded set. You have cloth sets there. You have different potions and different fireball or different spells. So fire wave, it's elemental magic, does fire damage. Hail does elemental damage. A side potion, looks like different large mega psi potions. You can have telekinesis, so you can hurl objects. Yeah, just all kinds of awesome stuff there. What's really cool, though, also, and we'll get to it eventually, is that there are traps that are going to be shuffled into the item deck. And when you draw a trap, then that means you've triggered a trap. So you have to be careful about searching, because if you search, you will eventually find these traps. And these traps will either affect a person, they can infect an entire room. So when you draw a trap, the trap will tell you who it affects. It can affect a single person. It can infect an entire room. So you never really know. You might be the one drawing the trap, but it might impact the entire group. And the traps will have different ways that you can either dodge them, or you can deactivate them. And then you can also gain experience points for deactivating and overcoming that. What is this? Dead adventurer. Oh, you find a dead adventurer and it activates a skeleton. That is super cool. I like that a lot. The text is very small, so yeah, get your reading glasses out. There's a lot of text on these cards. A lightning hammer, quarterstaff, trianon trident, a whip, snowball. Oh man, God, there's so much cool stuff here. Yeah, this is like almost like maybe even more loot than Dungeon Crusade. No, probably Dungeon Crusade probably still has the most. I can't remember how many pieces of equipment are in Dungeon Crusade. This might have more. I don't know. It's up there. Dungeon Crusade, Dungeon Universalis, Quest for the Lost Pixel, and probably now Dungeons of Doria are like the kings of loot in the box, in like the base game box here. Let's take another look at this stack here. Some more spells. You can dissolve armor, a lightning potion, another trap, but draw 3 loot cards at once. Tripwire, pitfalls, quicksand, charged arrow trap there, more traps, lava pits, toxic thorns, acid floor, secret doors, a bolt trap, a spear pit, scorching trap, fireball explosion. Oh my god, there are so many different traps. I love it. I love seeing traps in games. And a lot of different spells too. Heal light wounds, heal severe wounds, heal bruises, a barrel trap, the seeker, magic bow there, holy water baluster. So this symbol here means that this is like a magic weapon. And I think certain enemies, certain monster types are, you need to have magic weapons to do damage to them. A hypno hat, a scarf, a twin crossbow, necromancer's cowl, sand bellows, liquid arrow bow, the annihilator, some woolen earmuffs. That's cool there. A bone necklace, leather trousers, armored leather pants, a studded helmet. Yeah, this is awesome. I love the amount of loot in this game. Super crazy. So there's some more armor, a flame dagger, a flying flame dagger, gladius, a net, felt hat, impeccable shot, spell forge, more traps, magnetic trap, loss of a metal armor. That's cool. A ceiling trap, serpent trap, a strip trap, an arm shield, water pit, acid explosion, vine tendrils, magical force-filled pendulum of death, pit room. I don't even think any of these traps are duplicated. That is crazy. I don't know if there are any duplicates in here. Kite shield, the tri-anon shield, the sun shield. That's from the book, the example there. The meat cleaver, warhammer. Yeah, if you like outfitting heroes with gear, this looks like it might be a game for you. All right, let's take a look at one more deck of items here. Staff sling, turbans, a vampire dagger, a flaming sword, lightning pendant, more traps, an idle trap, and here's a whole bunch of potions, look like health potions and psi potions. The piercer, a rapier there, broadsword, butterfly swords. Those are always some of my favorite weapons in kung fu movies. Scissor hand, sacrificial dagger, a hood, silk trousers as part of a cloth set, the sword breaker, the serpent saber, a flamberge there. That's really cool. The obsidian blade. Oh man, I cannot wait to discover some of this stuff while I'm playing. And then we have our different monster cards. So let's take a look at these first. So there are 4 levels of monsters. So there are I think 19 different monsters, and then 4 levels of those monsters. So these are the level 1 cards here. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And I did want to grab the skeleton. So this is a level 1 skeleton, and this is a level 2 skeleton. And if you want to just look at the differences there, you can pause and take a look at the different stats there. But these are going to be your attribute cards for your different monsters. It's going to tell you their powers, how they attack, what they do, and then any kind of special movement or special abilities that they have. So we have skeletons, dark mages, goblins, trolls, slime crawlers, golems, zombies, mummies, shaman, orcs, mercenaries, poltergeists, gargoyles, ghouls, archers, spear throwers, vampires, ogres, and a black knight. So there are 19 different enemies. However, when you face one of those enemies, there is a chance that you will have these cards here, that these will modify, augment, and change the monsters, granting them additional attacks, additional abilities, double action there, sweeping blows, soul eaters, riposting, toxic aura, intelligent, raging anger. They could be ancient. They could have superior armor. They could be a pickpocket. They might be invisible. They might have a doppelganger. Maybe they're equipped with additional shields or blockers, double the range, 4 hands, frost monster, faster, half-blood. So as you can see, even there may not be like a ton of different monsters. There are a ton of different ways that those monsters will be augmented, will be modified and changed. And when you encounter a monster, you're going to draw from this deck here, and then that'll tell you which monster you are going to be placing out on the board. So these are all just pictures of the monsters, and then these monster modifier cards, those get shuffled into this deck. And it is possible, I believe, to draw multiple modifiers. So you draw a card from this deck, and if you had these 2 on top, you would draw this one. So you know you would be facing a soul eater. Then you would draw the next one with a sweeping blow, and then that might be a level 1 zombie. Or if that was then you would draw that card there, and that would be your if this was the zombie or the Black Knight, it would be a sweeping blow, soul eating zombie. So lots of different variety there. I like that a lot. Cool system. That was kind of similar. Quest for the Lost Pixel also had a similar system with those monster modifier cards, and I like that. Sword and Sorcery did too. That's one of the things I did like about Sword and Sorcery, is those different ways that you could that the monsters would change depending on their tactic cards. And then here we have our base cards for our base heroes. So if you wanted to start the game with playing a pre-generated hero, you can, or there is a point system to where you can assign points to the stats and you can make up your own hero. But we have a priestess, a ranger, a scoundrel, that's cool, like a ninja dude there, a huntress, a mage, a warrior, a shield maiden, and an adventurer. So those are the basic heroes that come with the game. Then the game is also going to come with some nice reference sheets here to where you have all your different game phases, your standard actions that you can take on a turn. So you can walk, you can jump, you can swap places with the hero. Those are all like your movement style actions. And then you have, you can reveal new room tiles, you can search for treasure, you can throw items, you can attack, use, or repair an item because your armor does get damaged in this game. And also, if your weapons are able to block or parry, then you can also damage your weapons. You can damage your armor. So you do have to keep track of like the condition of your armor and repair it if needed. You can carry unconscious characters, or you can take no actions and you can wait passing your initiative. And then you also have a nice icon reference and a campaign reference. So lots of good reference cards. The cards are very nice. I'm hoping that whatever publishing house, whatever manufacturing that Victor uses for his final game, I'm hoping they are as nice as these Game Crafter cards. I really do like the Game Crafter cards. I think they make quality components. Another thing that you're going to get are these 2 books of sheets here. You're going to have your character sheets where you can fill in all of your information for your characters. When you want to create your own characters, you have different stats here. You have your strength, your constitution, agility, perception, wisdom, and psi power. And then you have your hit points, your initiative points, and your psi points. And those are derived from the 2 connected stats. And then those we will keep track on here. You have negative totals. So your hit points, when they go down to 0, they can eventually go into the negative. And if you ever go down to negative 20, your character dies. And then you can keep track of your bonuses down here and your psi resistance and your dodge ability. All characters have innate abilities there. And then you'll also get a book here of your campaign overview. So there's different campaigns, and this will just kind of keep track of where you are so you can like save your game while you are on a campaign. And then here we have our dungeon tiles. So I think this is one place where I would like to see the components be a little bit better. These are just card stock. I would like to see them just maybe a little bit thicker. I don't need like huge thick tiles because it'll take up a lot more room. But a little bit more than just cards, hopefully. If they are just cards, I'm sure it's fun. But these are pretty cool. You will each scenario or each mission in a campaign will tell you which of these to use, and then you will mix those up and make your dungeon deck. Now, what's pretty interesting is there are dungeon cards that have a lot of corridors, but then there are also large room cards, and some of them will have open edges like this. And so if you come across a room like that, if you were entering in this door and you came across this room, you would continue to draw new tiles to create large open spaces. So you might be going through a bunch of little corridors, and the corridors might open up into a big a big mess hall or something, or a bigger throne room or something like that. And then these icons here tell you where to spawn monsters depending on how many heroes are in the game. I think it's like the white is you always spawn a monster on white, and then it's like 2+ heroes, 4 heroes, 6 heroes, something like that. But that's going to tell you where you're going to be spawning monsters. That is for loot. And then those are relic symbols, and I believe those get used in certain scenarios. You might be looking for certain relic symbols. Some of the tiles do have pits, and pits you can jump over. So there's like a cool little throne room there. Some kind of like boss monster sitting on the throne. Yeah, I do like the variety in these. I think the art on the tiles is okay. It does remind me kind of like an old computer game, I think. There's some barracks there. This is your starting tile. So that's where you're always going to be starting. And you're going to be placing your heroes in initiative order on those tiles there. Oh, that's a cool room. Like a bridge of death there. Hopefully there's some kind of scenario special scenario where you can like fall off that or maybe push monsters off that. This room here has lots of pits you're going to have to jump over. That is pretty cool. When you jump, you have to do a jumping test, and it is possible to take damage from a poorly done jump. And then my least favorite thing about Game Crafter games, the only thing I don't like, and I will be very happy that that the game will not have these laser cut chits, because as you guys know, if you've bought games on Game Crafter, you know that these have a lot of soot on them. They're very messy. Your hands will turn black, and they take a long time to clean. But these are all the chits that come with the game. So I will be happy to have these not be laser cut. You have different kind of elemental chits there. Chits for your treasure when you are discovering treasure in a dungeon. Secret doors there, rubble and closed doors. Those are chits just to keep track of different bonuses. Different bonuses there. Your enemies on the initiative track. Your heroes on the initiative track. See, already my hands are getting kind of black and sooty with this stuff. Okay, what else do you get? You get a whole bunch of a whole bunch of pieces to have your standees. You get some D10 dice there. The Game Crafter always throws in a ton of bags. Don't need to worry about that. So this here is your initiative track. And you're going to be keeping track of your initiative. Depending on how many action points you have, you're going to be placing a marker there and then spending the action points. Whoever marker is higher up, it's their turn to go. And you take a turn, you do actions until, and then you spend those action points. And then if somebody else is above you, then they get to go. So it's kind of like this alternating, each hero doesn't get to do a full turn. The turns are staggered according to their placement on the initiative track. I really like that. And same as the enemies. There is a lot of time spent on looking at this board. And this is one place where I'm hoping that the game just looks a lot nicer. This just feels kind of jumbled up to me. There's a lot of information here. You do have your rounds, phases. You can keep track of your party XP. These are all the places where the different enemies are going to spawn on the initiative track. And then this section up here is used for the doom counter. And so that is a counter that's going to be moving depending on what happens during a turn. And that is going to allow monsters to have an extra activation. Or maybe it'll also allow the monsters to level up. So that's how the monsters level up, is through this track here. I think I would prefer to see this as something like more of a aesthetically pleasing track of a spiral. It just looks kind of messy. This is one of the areas where I'm like, I'm not digging the way this looks. And this is a very important part of the game. So I'm kind of hoping maybe this gets a revamp. And then you also have, so here are your large character sheets where you can play your paper doll. You can play your fashion souls here. So you have spots for an accessory, head, arms, torso, left hand, right hand, accessory 2, legs, and feet. Then you have a belt. So your belt items you can always have access to as well. And then any other items are going to be kept in your backpack. And so to use something here, it costs 0 action points or 0 additional action points, 4 action points, 10 action points to have access to your backpack. And each of the characters does come with their own. I'm not sure if that's absolutely necessary to have the art there, because they are all the same, but it's nice. It's nice to have that. And then here we have a there is an index. This is cool. Okay, so I have not seen this yet. So this looks like a little kind of summary sheet of miscellaneous campaigns. So this kind of tells you a little bit more in details. Yeah, this is just kind of like a bonus. Maybe this was supposed to be included. This might be some kind of like errata that was supposed to be included. I'm going to have to check, but it does have an index. So that was one of my complaints about the rulebook, was a lack of an index, but here we go. And we also have our credits there. So you have Victor Ahrens, designer, development, and rules. We have campaigns and scenarios, graphic designer, character illustrations by Nathan Park. So yeah, the art is pretty good. I'm really glad to see that index. That makes me happy. And then we have here, we have our different quest books. So we have a book of single scenarios. So these are going to be your one-off scenarios here that you can play. And there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Looks like 17 different scenarios and also rules on creating your own scenarios. The scenarios are pretty simple, but I like that for one-off games. So this is like the Tavern of Farthingfield. This can be played for 1 to 6. There are additional rules for balancing if you want to play with 1 hero or 2 heroes. I think the game probably feels like it's most easily balanced at 3 heroes, but it does come with additional rules if you just want to play with 2 or if you want to go full lone wolf. You all sit together and have a quiet drink and something to eat when suddenly the innkeeper bursts out of the kitchen. He reports that there is a big hole in the cellar wall and multiple barrels are missing. You all rush into the cellar of the tavern and find multiple monsters there, which are just about to grab more barrels. The wall across from you shows a troll-shaped hole through which the monsters have evidently entered. Hurry to catch the barrel thieves. So this tells your quest is to track down and find the troll within a defined period of time, defeat him, and return the barrels to the innkeeper. It tells you what tiles you're going to be using when you set up your dungeon deck. It tells you any trolls drawn from the monster deck are ignored and an additional monster card is drawn because the troll is going to be the boss. And then you have your special scenario rules and your different things that will change the rules according to the scenario. Looks like in this scenario here, as soon as D4 is revealed, it looks like you kind of build a special room. That's kind of cool. I like that. And these can be played in any order. And so these are kind of like just your one-off adventures. If you just want to set something up and have a quick game, you return to one of these. This one is needed for 3 to 6 players. So this one is specifically balanced for 3 as the fewest number of heroes. And okay, so yeah, there's the evidence of a prototype there. Some of these are have not been finished yet. All right. And then you have 4 different campaign books. The Book of Destiny, the Grim Reaper, the Invasion of the Greenskins, and the Power of the Elements. And each one of these is going to have, it's a self-contained campaign where you're going to be continuing to play with the same character from adventure to adventure. Each one will have a certain map that you're going to be used, a little backstory there, how to set everything up, and then each one will have a certain number of scenarios. So like this one here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different scenarios, it looks like. But you probably have some choices of what to go because some of these are lettered like 3D, 3C, 3B. So you may not do all of them, but there looks like there will be some choices to make depending on how you want to go through the different scenarios. Invasion of the Greenskins here, which we will probably be fighting lots of orcs and goblins and that kind of stuff. Starts there at Castle Dankern, playing with fire, Lady Katharina. Then we have here a campaign focusing on the Grim Reaper. So I do really like this. This is cool because if you want to play a campaign, you can. If you don't want to, you can play the one-off scenarios. And this one here looks pretty massive. This is the Book of Destiny. This is kind of like an epic campaign here. Lots of different things in here. Again, all really well done. I'm very, very impressed by the way this looks. And just thinking about the game from what I've read, I think it's going to play pretty well as well. And then you have all of your standees. I'm not going to pull these out because they are all very sooty. So I do want to take it. I do need to clean these up. They're going to get it's just going to get my hand all black and everything. And here we have some of stands for your different heroes with the different colors there. But yeah, that was a very kind of detailed look at all of the stuff you get in Dungeons of Doria. Again, this is a prototype, so things are going to look different. Hopefully, this just gives us a good indication of what the final produced game will look like. I'm super excited. I'm especially excited for all of this loot. It just seems like it's just going to be so much fun going through a dungeon and equipping your character with all kinds of new things that you have found. And also these monster modification cards sound like a lot of fun. The initiative track system sounds fun. So now it is time for me to set the game up and play it. And I will be back with a battle report and some general detailed thoughts on the game. All right, guys, I hope you had a good time looking at Dungeons of Doria, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.